This session we're going to talk about the big opportunities in energy efficiency. I'll introduce myself first. I am Gus Bauder. I am the regional sales leader for Cochrane Supply South down here. A little bit about me. I'm 22 years in distribution. Prior to that, I was 21 years actually working in the field as a residential technician for a little while, then moved into commercial, and then moved into distribution in 2002. And never left distribution, so I'm still here today. This topic here is one that for many years I shied away from. A lot of times I approached some contractors to try to sell it to them, and it was very difficult for contractors. They almost said they had to hire somebody separately to do all the research and all the paperwork that had to do with energy rebates and all that stuff, and it was just a long road for them to do. So I kind of, as a salesperson, I kind of shied away from it for many years, just because I knew I couldn't get anywhere with it, because the contractors, they just didn't have enough manpower and time to go after all these rebates and stuff. And then a few years ago, I was introduced to some of these people on the panel today, and I learned a lot about how we could go about this, how a lot of people on this panel can work with our contractors and help them with all that heavy lifting of that paperwork. So then when this panel came up for discussion, I told Scott, well, I have to be the moderator for this one because I learned a lot. So, and I need to pass that knowledge on to all the contractors that I should have passed on years ago. I should have known about you guys a long time ago. So we'll give each panel member a few minutes to introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abby Massey. I am Vice President of the Energy Incentives Practice at Tax Taker. We are a specialty tax consulting firm, so we specialize in incentives and partner with CPAs and CFOs. My background, I'm a professional engineer. I started my career in building design. I did that for about 7 years before I came over to the tax incentives world. And my specialty are energy incentives, incentives centered around real estate, commercial buildings, and renewable property.
Hi, I'm Mark Patterson with Imperial Utilities and Sustainability, and pretty new to this energy sector, if you will, but I was in oil and gas for 36 years and then in consulting and joined Imperial a little over 2 years ago, and we'll get into more of what we do and how we do it and how you guys are valuable to us in a few minutes. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Gus Bauder. I'm the district sales manager with Belimo. My background is of energy management, measurement and verification, helping large school districts and entities secure rebates and Energy Star certifications. So that's how I got here.
Eddie Damai, one of the co-founders of Code Labs. We're a smart building platform that essentially makes all the steps that are needed to actually get the incentives easier, simpler, faster, and actually helps you hit those different goals that you may need to hit in order to get the different incentives, amongst many other things. But we'll kind of stick to that to stay in topic here.
Thanks. So we're going to start off right now with, I think Imperial has a short little presentation to go through, so we'll let you go through your presentation here.
Great.
And here's your clicker. It's this big green button. It took a while for me to learn that one, but
Perfect. Thank you. And first of all, let's just say that here we go. Thank you, Scott, for for the invitation and for having us, Alicia for your help and support, and I want to thank the Dallas team, Gus, and everybody that's been involved with Cochrane. What a great team. Brandy, who had to go home this morning, she's the Houston representative, and we're fortunate to have her, and we just thank you for your friendship and your support. What we do know is that the guys in this room, the people in this room, the gals and girls and guys in this room, the contractors, y'all are the guys that put us in business. And several years ago, I'll tell you a brief story about how that all took place, but it'll be brief, I promise. But I see several guys in the room who either represent the companies or actually were instrumental in helping Paul Broken start Imperial Sustainability. And Paul, and y'all can hear me okay, I guess, right? Good. So Paul was the energy manager of the University of Houston for 8 years, and this is about 10 years ago. And so in that position, he met a lot of mechanical contractors and was doing work with you guys and was doing what we do today on some scale. And in turn, as he developed these relationships and had done for U of H, y'all started contacting him. Several of you started contacting Paul and said, hey, can you help us do what you did for us at U of H as it relates to ROI calculation, project cost analysis, as it relates to looking at energy efficiencies and how to get rebates and incentives for the installation of energy efficient equipment, whether it be a chiller or controls or LED lighting or whatever the case may be. And so Paul said, sure. And so he started doing this in the evenings by himself, and he realized very quickly that he had an opportunity to start a new business. And so it's you guys, the contractors, that put us in business. And so we're very thankful for that. And not only that, but we also, through the services we provided, I'm going to go forward a little bit to our clients. All of these clients that you see up here on the screen are some of our clients today. And almost every one of these, if not all of these, were brought to us through you guys. And so that's why our role with mechanical contractors today and our desire to partner with you to give you a competitive advantage in the marketplace is so important to us, is because you helped us with these clients. And so from these clients, they referred us to other clients. And so we not only work and partner with mechanical contractors, but we work directly with end users, and we work directly with all these companies and more. I'm going to back up to these services. So this is our services, our service offerings. And these services, and I'll walk through these briefly with each of you, is what gives you a competitive advantage. It's what, hopefully, it through our partnership with you will help you help those end users, those property management teams that you work with, those building engineers, those property managers that Gus had talked about, that he was, that you guys are engaged with, but may not have all the tools or have an understanding of how to truly help them in an energy efficient manner, to help them with their energy efficiencies, to help them with lowering, and that's our objective, is to lower the consumption of KWH, water, gas, whatever the case may be. And the way we help you guys initially is we've changed a little bit of our model. We've added some services to it, and it all starts with a utility analysis. We say to you guys, hey, you approach the property management team that you're doing a controls change out with, or wanting to do a controls upgrade with, and you say, hey, we partner with a company that will come in and do a full-blown historical 18 to 24 month historical holistic analysis of all your utilities, electric, gas, and water. And what that'll do is it'll provide you with a foundational tool for any ESG or sustainability program that you may already have in place or that you want to start. And that's a great place to get started, because if you don't have that as a baseline to move forward with monthly utility tracking, then what good is it? Because you got to have something to compare it to. You got to be able to say, here's where we are today, and here's where we were in the past. And so that initial analysis that we provide for you to your client is normalized for hot and cold days, billing cycles, occupancy rates. The more data we get from the building owners, from the property management teams, the better off we can build this foundational tool and this baseline for moving forward. So that's all part of that initial partnership with you on the front end before you even get the job. Second is project analysis, where we come in and we are that third party that will provide them an ROI calculation, a project cost analysis. And we'll also do the evaluation of what potential rebates may or may not exist inside of the utility providers in the marketplace. And we'll run that analysis, have that calculation, and you can know that going in, that you can say, hey, there's this potential for a rebate for the install of these controls. And you'll know that going in. It can be part of your bid package. It can be a part of your quote. And then with that, if you're awarded the work, then this is where we go to work, and we'll provide them with a monthly utility tracking. We'll provide them with potentially off-balance sheet financing for that project, for other projects that are energy efficiently related. We'll provide them with procurement assistance if necessary, and that's in the rebate and incentive process, but it also could be as it relates to brokering future electricity and gas contracts, which you'll see in just a minute in our case histories. And then also Energy Star tracking and certification, and then also, because of Abby and our new relationship with Abby and her team, we can also be that liaison between her and her company as it relates to tax incentives assessment as well. So we're very excited about that new opportunity. Once again, those are our customers, and this is how this works: energy management and project analysis. So Cochrane introduces us to you guys. We have relationships with some of you guys already, but we're meeting new guys this trip. I've certainly met several of you guys out there in the audience, and look forward to moving forward with a potential partnership with your companies as well. And then as you engage your clients, we want to be partner with you in analyzing those project opportunities and providing all the stakeholders with ROI and project cost analysis, rebate incentive analysis, and then move forward with potential tax incentives, and then ultimately rebate procurement, and also monthly utility tracking, with the whole focus of lowering consumption. But with that, in working with the client, not only partnering with you, but also working with the client, working with those property management teams, is that we become the liaison a lot of times between the property management team and the actual provider. Specific example would be Straight Jesuit in Houston, one of our clients. You saw them on the client list. They're a client, and literally a month after they became one of our clients, their water bill tripled. We notified the maintenance team and said, hey, your water bill tripled. Oh, really? Because accounting gets the bills. He didn't know. He goes out, finds a leak on his football field, one of the sprinkler heads. It's feeding the bayou, not flooding his football field. He had never known it until something else occurred, and we brought his attention. He found it, and then we went to the City Public Works, Houston City Public Works, and got that delta between what his normal water consumption was and he was billed for. We got that put back on, reimbursed on his bill. So it's those types of things, and you'll see that in what's here, and that's some of our case histories. And it all started back in White Lodging, was a hotel in downtown Houston, and one of you guys brought us in to be as part of the building controls and garage exhaust project, and we helped procure a $90,000 rebate, and with that, they got our monthly utility analysis, and they got the services that we provide under the umbrella of the services. And we, in the process of doing analysis, we found $100,000 overcharge from their chilled water company, and so we were able to get involved directly with that process and that problem, and you get that refunded as well. So all of a sudden we're heroes, right? And that's early on. That's one of the first projects out of the game, 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Hyatt Regency, one of the longest standing customers, Hyatt Regency downtown. If you've been to Houston, you've seen that building. You may have even stayed there. We got involved with them. Once again, contractor introduced us. And we go in and we help them with a rebate initially, and then ultimately more rebates for their central plant. And then we end up being their broker for electric gas contracts, and we serve them at every year at the budget time as it relates to all the utilities and those types of things. And then Bayou Bend Towers, very similar story, high-rise condominium just outside of downtown Houston, brought in by a mechanical contractor to do a chiller replacement, got a rebate there, start providing them with monthly utility analysis, found out, hey, you're not getting your evaporation credits from the City of Houston Public Works and you can because you have a water-cooled chiller and you need and a cooling tower, and you can get evaporation credits. What? Yeah. So we helped them set that up, and you can see there we're saving them about they're getting reimbursed about $18,000 to $20,000 a year on their water because of that. And then we did another chiller rebate. And so once again, it's that situation when you bring us in, we partner with you, and then we help that property management team, and you get the benefit, and we get the benefit, and it's a win-win. It's a win-win-win. Property owners win, property management teams win, you win, and we move down the road. 712 Main, one of the oldest buildings in downtown Houston, over 100 years old. We helped them become Energy Star. We've helped them fix a situation after the freeze of 2021 and Texas freeze of 2021 where they had an overcharge by their electric provider. And we helped them sort that thing out. And once again, because of that, some of that management team has moved on to other properties and brought us with them. So that's how we've grown. Anyway, I was telling the guys this morning, we're talking about the tornadoes that came through Houston. And our families are all without power. And that's why probably a lot of Houstonians have already headed home today. But one of the buildings that we serve, one of the buildings downtown Houston, it's the Center Point Energy Building, downtown Houston, high-rise. There were a report on the news last night. I saw it. They had multiple windows busted out because of the tornadoes yesterday. That's one of our buildings. We work with that engineer and that property management team on that building. And I know they're experiencing some crazy chaos today. But anyway, that's who we are, and that's why we're here, and we want to continue to support you guys, and those that haven't worked with us in the past, we want to do that. So please reach out to us, and we can start to build those relationships and become those partners to help you get more success out there in the marketplace.
Awesome, nice, thank you. All right, so Mark, you mentioned tax incentives, and we have a tax incentive expert sitting on our panel here. So why don't you tell us, Abby, how you can work with all these tax incentives and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, there's a lot of tax incentives out there for energy efficiency in commercial buildings and multifamily, all sorts of options. A lot of these programs have been around for a long time. But not very many people knew about them or were taking advantage of them. But the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed in 2022 enhanced them, which has caught the attention of a lot of folks. So with the Inflation Reduction Act, we have enhanced values. We have even government and nonprofit entities that can take advantage of tax incentives, which seems counterintuitive, but there are special programs that allow them to do that now. And I am working more and more with contractors, designers, manufacturers who want to bring this information to their clients, because one of the, I think, key points that I like to make to my audiences is that building owners do not know these exist. And if they do, they have already probably written them off because they're not sure where to get the information. And so what I like to tell my contractors is, especially when it comes to controls, is that the work that you're already doing is triggering them for the incentives. You don't have to change anything that you're doing already, and they may be missing this opportunity, and you may be missing it as an opportunity to share additional value that could keep maybe some of those wish list items that your clients have that exceed the budget and put them back into the project. So that's what my group does. We obviously do the work to perform the incentive work, to create the documents that need to go on the return, but we consult as well. We can come on early on the project. We can work side by side with contractors. We can work directly with building owners. We educate. We provide the information they need to understand the value, what the steps are. And again, our services are turnkey, so there's not a lot of work on your end, but we want to make sure they understand what's out there, the value that's out there, and that they can make the best decision for themselves as the building owner, and hopefully enhance the services that you're providing by being the person who could usher in that education.
All right, so that's very good. Thank you, Abby.
Of course.
Let's find out how BLEMO works in all this.
Appreciate that. Just real quick to piggyback off of what Abby was saying, I was blown away in our planning call when we were discussing this exact topic, and I asked, can those tax incentives be stacked with rebate incentives from the utility providers? And the answer was yes, they can. So not only are there tax incentives available, but utility providers also offer their own slew of rebates that become available. So BLEMO-wise, we offer devices that can reduce significant pump savings, chiller inefficiency savings. Just out of curiosity, show of hands, how many of you are pulling interval data in to your front ends, like EMS-wise? Yeah. That becomes a really powerful tool if you have an energy management arm. I know there's software solutions that will help you integrate all of that stuff. And you can't manage what you can't measure. That all comes back to it. So from the BLEMO front, the incentives that exist currently were a lot around LED lighting, not much opportunity there. VFDs, not much opportunity left there. And so we're kind of looking towards that next wave of what the prescriptive devices are going to be, and thinking that we have some products and pressure independent solutions that are going to fit really nicely into helping leverage your variable speed drives. If you put it in and it stays at 60 hertz, it's not doing you any good. But if you can take advantage of that VFD and get your pump energy savings down significantly, we think that our devices can deliver those rebate incentives. And we also partner. I've done some successful case studies with DTE in the Detroit area for some of our energy valves. Right now, they're all custom, but our big goal is to get them to the prescriptive status. So, cool.
So after we, do the analysis on the building, we look at our tax incentives. We have our devices connected to the building. So where do we get that information from? Where do we go see that information? That's what we're going to ask Code Labs.
Thank you. So here's a few things, and I think a lot of good kind of points were made already. But from our perspective, the way that we see the world that we're in and we're all working and living in is that access to data has been this like hard thing where whether it's energy incentives or whether it's understanding real-time utility usage or whatnot, it's just our view is that we shouldn't have to take days and weeks and months to analyze things, via the utility company or the paper or whatnot. There are a multitude of different solutions out there today that aggregate all utility companies, whether it's US or other countries, is one. We integrate with that. We make all of that available real time. So some of the services that are provided via a variety of different, services and companies, I think can get simplified, at least in our view. The idea is that you let the professionals, similar to the ones that are on this panel, be able to actually use the analysis that is being done, similar to other industries. Like, our space has just been quite, antiquated from a perspective of being able to see data in real time. That's what we are addressing and fixing and making available so that you can take that data and go and figure out, hey, I did this last month, last quarter, I did it in this region versus that region, have this stuff normalized so that those reports can be made available to people, again, like you guys here, to go and figure out, okay, with this data, what is the perfect incentive that fits this, and then drive that forward. The other thing I'll say is that utility companies haven't always been, the friendliest with regard to just making this stuff available. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it's sad because this is information that should be available similar to any other industry out there, where you should be able to plug in an address, you should be able to plug in your information. Getting Energy Star rated this way or that way shouldn't be something that takes 17 months to figure out. That's a simple API to your meters, to your energy usage. So I say all that to say that there's a simpler, better way to eliminate some of the steps that have been happening in our space. That is what Code Labs does, so that we can actually get to the root of how do I get money back, how do I, whether it's tax incentives or money from the utility companies. You mentioned DTE. The idea is, we're working with DTE now. There's an actual There's a program that they put in place that's very specific to like our platform, and it's based on real data across thousands of buildings where, hey, before you were doing this, after you're doing X. Again, take that. If you're implementing something, you should just be able to give the money back, and then also confirming that what you said you were going to do shouldn't be a thing that takes days and weeks. It's like real time available today. And that's kind of the approach that we take. And I think the last thing I'll say on that is that from a contractor perspective, what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide you guys a tool that enables you to do what you guys do best. You guys understand how to run buildings better than anybody else. You're doing this day in and night out. Like, we're trying to provide you a tool that makes your job easier, simpler, and increases your margin when it comes to service, as well as provide a better client experience. Because at the end of the day, like, that's one of the things that, again, in our space that's also been a bit Comcastic, for lack of a better term. How do we provide a better client experience using real-time data? And that's where we come in.
I could just add.
Yeah, you absolutely can, yes.
So utility companies across the country, I traveled extensively previously. They are all very similar, and they have the ability to become trade allies. So I encourage you, regardless of where you're located, to check out their website, to see what it takes to become a trade ally. You can take those incentives directly instead of handing them to your customer and make that part of your negotiation, your sales process, or you can pass it through to the end user. I know we're all very red tape averse, and we see these things as like, God, this is just bureaucracy to the nth degree. But they are tasked. They typically partner with engineering firms, and their job is to give away this money. So they will hold your hand. They will help you get it over the finish line. Some of them will even go as far as to allocate allowance for a salary to have somebody within your organization spend all of their time securing these rebates if you're large enough. When I was working in Utah, Rocky Mountain Power was offering $40,000 a year to a school district to just have someone focus on collecting these rebates. So really easy to justify your worth. And if you pay attention to the news, you pay attention to what's happening in New York City and some of the East Coast, I think Boston will be next. Right now, incentives are the carrots, but the sticks are coming, right? They are required to post their EUI on the door of the building. And if you don't meet the expectation for what your use per square foot is, you're going to begin to get fined, and that's not something that's going to go away. So, you'd rather cash in on the carrots than wait for the stick, I think is the bigger message.
Yep. Good. So you guys, the panel did a great job going through their information and answering a lot of questions I already had for them. So, but I'm going to paraphrase a couple of these questions, and they're questions that I get from customers every time I get in front of them. And this is a question for everybody on the panel. When we're looking at incentives, what all incentives can we get incentivized on? Is it solar? Is it electricity? Is it water? And this is some stuff that I learned that was brought to my attention. There was a lot of incentives out there that I didn't even know you could get rebates for. So probably Paul and Abby run into this more than anything on what all is available out there that you might not even think of.
Sure. So I'll cover from the federal side and then pass it along. But for the federal incentives, there's a couple of programs that I have in mind specifically for your group. The Section 179D incentive has been around for quite a while. It's for energy efficient commercial buildings and high-rise residential. So anything 4 stories and above grade, you can get up to $5 per square foot for installing any sort of HVAC interior lighting or building envelope components. And so that does include control systems. As a matter of fact, they're a great fit for the program. The only case law that's ever come out for 179D was in support of a controls upgrade for a hospital. And it weighed very heavily in support of the deduction and that it qualified. So it's a great program. This one is great for building owners who pay taxes. In the case that you do work for K through 12 or nonprofits, it's actually the controls contract contractor who can claim it or any other designer on the project. And so that is what the case law supports, that the controls contractor qualifies as a designer who can claim that benefit on behalf. So know that this is a tool that can put some money back onto your bottom line or give money back to your clients. Another program that's available that's very popular is called the investment tax credit, and it's in regard to renewable property. So things like solar, geothermal heat system, thermal storage. This credit is the credit that is available for nonprofit and government entities to claim through something called elective pay. So normally they would not have a tax liability to be able to apply a tax credit to. They can file a pre-registration with the IRS and the Department of Energy. They get a registration number and essentially get a check in the mail for the amount of the credit. So this credit in a perfect world can go up to 70% of the cost of that system install. So we're talking about some really significant dollars. And in a lot of cases on larger projects, we've got clients who can take 3 or 4 federal incentives together. And that's in addition to the state, local incentives, rebate programs that are available. So maybe even just millions of dollars from the federal side, which means there's a ton of opportunity out there. And like I said, these programs have been around for a while. So there's a lot of consultants who know these programs well. We wouldn't expect you to have all that knowledge. It's just too much. It's a deep code. The IRS is consistently changing. As a matter of fact, they made an announcement today changing one of the rules for 179D. So, partner with somebody who can get you the education, get your clients education. I think that's the best way to be able to provide or give out the education to the folks that you're connected with.
And so that's why we're excited about partnering with Abby and her company, because that's the area of expertise that we have not made available to ourselves and as it relates to the tax incentives. However, I will say, not like it's already been said, most major metropolitan municipalities and areas, the utility providers in those markets have some type of utility sponsored program where they do provide incentives and rebates for the installation of energy efficient fixtures. And that, once again, it can be everything from lighting to solar, roofing, HVAC, controls, and I'm probably missing something. But the point is that each one of those programs are a little different. Each one will have different timelines. Each ones are first come, first. Some are first come, first serve. Some have specific amounts of money that run out annually. And so all those different programs have different, processes that you have to work through. And that's where we come in. We're currently in the state of Texas. We're working with 9 different utility providers and their programs. And then we're working with another probably 10 or 12 in different states across the country. So it's just a matter of, you've got an area where and I was talking to some guys out of Ohio. If Ohio Edison has got a program, we'll investigate it. We'll figure out what the requirements are, and we'll help procure rebates in that market.
Awesome. That's good. So that's good to know. You got to take note, because a lot of contractors here do work all over the country, right? So you may not know what the utilities are doing in that area. So what you're saying up here, you guys, is that you'll help no matter where it is in the country.
Yeah, that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I'll just say, having been around a little bit, the programs are all eerily similar to one another. Yeah. So what exists for one utility provider, very likely will exist for many others.
Yep. So the other question that I always get from contractors is, you already answered, how do I get paid, or who does that? Another question that I get, or a fear that I get from contractors, is how much are you going to help me? Are you going to help me from 0 to 100%, or are you going to help me from 0 to 80 or 0 to 50, and then I got to do the rest? That's a popular question I get, because once they get into the paperwork and stuff, how far do you guys go when you develop this relationship with, through Cochrane to our contractors and to the end user?
Well, we handle it soup to nuts, and once again, we'll look at it from a holistic standpoint. It's not just rebates and incentives. It's the whole objective of lowering your overall energy consumption, and also providing opportunities for rebate, opportunities for once again, as was said, it's not necessary, it doesn't have to be passed on to the end user, it doesn't have to be passed on to the owner or the property management team, but it can be included in part of your quote and bid process. And so, but we'll handle that whole process as it relates to evaluation and then the process to walk through to actually procure it.
Abby?
Sure. So we also provide turnkey services. We really value our partnerships. So not only will we calculate the incentives for you, but we're there for consulting. We're there for education. We'll educate your teams. We'll even co-brand marketing materials if you want to pass them along to your clients to help them understand some brief bullet points about the federal incentives. So our idea is to make this an easy process for you and your clients. If we're putting more work on you than it's worth it, then that's not a win for anybody. So we do our best to make sure that everything falls on our shoulders. That's why we have technical folks on our team, myself with a background in engineering. We have other engineers that we work with. And that's the entire purpose, is so that we can talk your industry, we can do the work, and then we can even communicate with your clients or your CPs or CFOs so that they understand what's going on as well. We're really that bridge of information.
Yep. So before we go to audience questions, I would like to say, anybody out here who needs to know more about these programs, please reach out to someone at Cochrane Supply. Please reach out to them. We love to partner with you guys and get this. We can win a lot more jobs. I've been to some presentations with Imperial, and they do an awesome job. And they've helped us, or our contractors, sell some jobs with some of their energy rebates and ROI on the building. And it's an amazing tool that you can put in your tool pocket without even have to employ anybody to go after all these stuff. You have a team right here to do it for you. So let's go to some audience questions. How much time do we have? Are we good? We're good on time? Audience questions, I think we got one here, Rick.
You mentioned you can go with the customer or not with the customer. Does the customer have to know you're getting a rebate?
No, well, ultimately,
Here's your mic, Mark.
yeah. And so that's a great question, and it depends. So once again, every program may be different in some way, but some programs require that the end user sign off. So inside of the body of the initial quote and contract, if you write into it that if a rebate is procured, your quote includes that. Okay, so that would be, then you would get the rebate and they wouldn't. Or it could be written in where they get a portion and you get a portion. So it just depends on the program. But also, there are programs where the contractor, I know, for instance, actually a manufacturer can actually apply as well in some programs and get the rebate direct. And all of a sudden, the contractor and or the end user, the property management team, the owner of the building is shut out because the manufacturer of the equipment actually applied for it. I think that that's becoming more and more rare because utility providers are wanting to incentivize not the manufacturers as much as they are the end user and then the mechanical contractor.
And you mentioned evaporative credit. I'm assuming that's, I got water coming in, I don't have water going out through sewer. Sewer is more expensive than water coming in.
That's exactly right.
And if I'm not getting credit for that, is that retroactive?
No.
No. Okay.
No. And and I'm speaking, when I say no, I'm speaking specifically on a couple of specific utilities in and around Houston, Fort Bend and Harris County, Houston Public Works, where they have specific, where you have to read it at a specific date. You have to go in and input the data on a specific date. And then if you've done that, then you get paid. But if you miss it, you missed it, and you can't do it till the following. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, we got another question from our good friend here, Mark.
Thank you. Well, one's a statement and the other is a question. The first statement, when I forget who was talking about it, about especially larger cities where they have the incentives now, or actually compliance regulations like New York Law 97, Philadelphia has one, Boston has one. I personally thought, oh, wow, this is going to be great for us industry here, contractors, technology providers. I'm dead wrong right now, is that you talk to the building owners and the operators, especially of tenant-occupied buildings, which obviously in the larger cities you have an abundance of them. You talk to them, oh yeah, we're aware of it. We know we can get fined X dollars for not complying. We just pass the cost on to the tenants. And so they've already got their excuse, at least for right now, until the tenant gets wise and says, I'm out of your building. I'm not going to do this. You either comply or I'll go find another one. Just as an FYI. So the question I have with energy efficiency as our broad topic here, what has happened to demand response? That was the end-all, be-all 5-6 years ago. Because again, we talk about energy in this industry and being efficient, controlling it, managing it, reducing it. We've talked about this for 25 years. It comes in, it comes out, it comes in, it comes out. Where are y'all? Do y'all see demand response anywhere anymore?
So part of the reason why I asked about folks who pull in interval data, I think undoubtedly, this whole conference is about the vision for BAS integrators. There is going to be a time in the very near future with the demand on the grid where you're going to need to automate load shedding in real time to do exactly what you're talking about. And it's not going to be any one magic bullet. Entities that I worked for in the past, it was a manual process where they would call ahead and it was a fire drill and you had to have a team of people running around, shutting off chillers and being ready to do that. And they offered tremendous discounts on your kWh price. But it's going to all become a part of what we do as an industry to say, okay, my demand is approaching X or the grid is approaching X, and it's going to automate raised set points, lower lighting, all of those things are going to have to become part of our controls loop. And it's going to take devices like Belimo offers to deliver that. So I think you'll see that with the electrification of everything and heat pumps and automobiles all moving in that direction, that it's going to sneak up on us. It has kind of gone away, but that trend, in my opinion, is about to return in a big way.
So Code Labs, can you explain to us, are you getting that for when you're overlaying your front end?
Yeah, I mean, it often comes up, but I think to your point, and to your point, Mark, like it was a hot topic for a while. It's kind of died down a little bit. I do agree with you wholeheartedly that it's a topic that it's going to come up and be a bigger and bigger deal, particularly as the utility companies across U.S. become a bit more automated. But the idea is that, again, I think yesterday we talked a ton about, AI and machine learning, et cetera. And then I think we flip-flop, and rightly so, right? Like we want to get there, but the truth is we still, are having humans to go and turn chillers off and this, that, and the other, and where do I get this information and so on and so forth. And again, back to my kind of earlier point, what we're trying to address is we're trying to say, hey, look, you should be able to see this information in real time. If you're going to optimize, whether it's for demand response or any other thing, you should be able to account for all of the data and the experiences inside of the buildings to be able to deliver, because you can optimize. We all know how to shut things off, but it's what is that doing to the tenant experience or the occupier experience, et cetera. That is where we believe true machine learning and then eventually AI will really take place and be able to help you do that in an automated way. Because truthfully, there's not one of us is going to be able to do this at scale. Hiring more humans. We already have a problem finding the right humans that understand complex buildings. What we're trying to do is, and to answer your question, yes, we get that all the time. We're still big believers in, like, foundationally, you have to be able to normalize across your whole portfolio to then be able to take this to the next step. Otherwise, you're trying to address one-off issues in a silo that may be addressing one thing but causing 17 other problems, and that's what we try and avoid.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Mark? Go ahead.
I was just going to add one more thing. Is that everyone familiar with the ratchet clause on energy billing too? So like, it's not just about one point in time. If they catch you once a year peaking out, you get hit for the next 12 months until you can let that kind of roll off your book. So it will become financially impactful, going forward as well.
Mark, I'll say to you as well that we're still heavily involved with that. A lot of our clients are involved in the demand response programs, but typically in the Houston market and those customers that are involved, they have a backup. So it's like ERCOT calls them up and says, okay, we need this for the next 3 hours. And then they bring on their gas generated generators and produce power so that the building doesn't change coolness or in the occupancy, and the tenants are all, they're not even in the know. So those programs are existing, and certainly ERCOT with the controlled environment, it's a little different than maybe other places across the country.
Abby, you got anything to add to this one?
Yeah, I think a point just to kind of follow up on what CodeLabs is describing about building measurement is that the federal incentives are trending that way. So Section 179D traditionally is calculated utilizing an energy modeling analysis. But now they have added a provision, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, to say we're going to allow a deduction to be claimed based off of a before and after measurement of the EUIs in the building. So we're still waiting for more guidance from the IRS on exactly how to implement that, but they see that as a trend, and so they're following suit, and I think that's great. It just means, though, that we need to get these systems installed. We need to be measuring our buildings, monitoring our buildings, so that we can actually follow up with those benefits.
Yep. So I'm being told I'm going to get a hook in a minute, so we have to close this out. But I would like to personally thank the panel for giving me, a sales guy that's been around for 22 years doing distribution, another tool in my pocket to deliver to my customers to make them more successful. So thank to all of you guys for everything that you do. If you have any other questions, they'll be over there on that side of the stage, and you can ask them.